Well, Miss Sandra Funk, I am so delighted to have you back on the podcast again. How are you, lady?
Awesome. So absolutely honored and thrilled that you are willing to do this again. Thank you, thank you, thank you for
Oh my
having me.
goodness. Are you kidding me? I love the, interior design standard sponsored shows because we always get so much valuable advice about how to run a business from you. It's not just what's great about the standard that we need to know, but you always come and like drop the bombs on us on how to run a business. So
We try to make sure we bring some value. Well, people have busy lives, so.
That's right. That's right. So the thing is, today you want to talk about boundaries, about having boundaries. I can imagine we didn't do a whole lot of pre-chat about it with you. I don't need to vet you. I know it's going to be good. My guess is it's probably going to be around client boundaries, maybe employee boundaries, and things like that. The thing is, two things I know. I know that we can't set boundaries if we don't even understand what our own expectations are, right? Like
Mhm.
what do we like putting a friends around what? Like is it around a mile, around 5 miles? What's our expectation, right? Um and then secondly, I know somebody on your team, I don't know, it was you who said it to me in a Vox or somebody like, gosh, Sandra's told all of her stories on the show, but we found a story she hasn't told. So I didn't ask for the story. I wanted to hear it as everybody did. So I'm assuming the story obviously has to do with boundaries and expectations, right?
Yes, it does. It does. It does. So I was literally trying to rack my brain on. I needed a new story to come on, Luann, to come on the podcast, and um, so trying to figure out what have we not talked about in our many episodes, and I wanted to throw it way back. So this is the story of my non-engagement and how that somehow ties into Cirque du Soleil. So again, I'm throwing it way back. So, okay, I met my husband when we were in college. We were like babies, college, sweethearts, what have you. He followed a job out to New York City. I stayed in Detroit where I was living and working. I graduated from college. I had this cute little condo, had my little car, had my great job. I was doing business consulting at the time. All good, all good. And Jay and I were doing long distance. And we're together for some wedding and we're having this wonderful weekend. And he says to me, I want you to move to New York. I want you to come and move in with me. And we'd been together for uh, probably 3 years at that
Oh,
point, right?
okay.
So we're together 3 years and we've been doing the long distance thing for quite a while. And, I was like, yes, this is where this is going, right? But I don't know what the thing is, like you don't give the milk without buying the
Yes.
cow or something like that. I remember there was some old like
Yeah. You
old
can't get the
wives.
milk without buying the cow.
Thank
Right.
you. You
Yes,
can't get
that
the milk
is
without
it. You
buying the
have it
cow.
right.
Some
You have
old
it right.
saying, right?
Right.
So we're not quite in that phase, but I'm like, all right, but I need to know if I'm going to sell my condo, sell my car. We're talking
Yeah.
moving
This
to New
is
York
big
City. This
stuff.
is
Yeah.
big.
Not around the
Like
corner.
get
Like,
give away my furniture, upend my life, transfer my job, move my career, start over. Start. I could transfer, so same job, but I could still have to start over again in a new business thing. And I'm like, if I have to do all of this, I need to know that this is serious
yeah.
and that this is going somewhere. And also, I knew enough to know that I wasn't prepared to be like alone in Manhattan if we weren't going somewhere. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like,
Like it wasn't like you could see yourself staying, hey, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I'll start a life there. It's like, no, what would I be doing there?
yeah, I knew that I wasn't making enough to be like solo in Manhattan at that point. I was like, I don't know, 22 or something. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I will upend my life and I will come and move in with you if we are on track to be engaged within 2 years. 2 more years. We're
Yeah.
together
That's not a
2 more years,
yeah, that's not a
right?
big ask.
It's nothing crazy. It's not like, uh, it was all we were all in agreement. That sounded quite reasonable. Everyone agreed. It was all good. Okay, so I move. We have this great couple of years. Everything is wonderful. Birds are chirping and
Yeah.
we're running around Manhattan being young kids with just the fun. And
Oh, is it 2 years already? He says.
right around that 2 year mark, Jay says to me, I have this really fun night planned. I want you to get all dolled up and meet me downtown in the very bottom of Manhattan. There's this marina in that Battery Park City area. He's like, I
Yeah.
want you to meet me downtown on the docks at 6 o'clock, all dressed up, and this Saturday night, blah 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 blah.
Wow.
And I'm like,
I'm
It's
getting
on.
engaged.
Here
I'm
we
getting
go.
a
I'm
ring.
on the phone with my sister. I'm like, what should I wear? I got to go get my nails done. Like, I am like, it is time. It is on. So I get downtown. And I'm from Michigan. I grew up on the water. I'm like, we're going to be meeting in the marina. He so knows me, right? Bull friggin' you know what. So anyway, I get downtown, I'm all dressed up, I'm standing on the dock, the wind is in my hair, and he shows up and he's all excited and I'm like, this is so great. And he's like, okay, I'm so excited to tell you, we are taking the ferry across the river and we are going to Cirque du Soleil. The circus is in town. That's a perfect response. This is the first time Cirque du Soleil has ever come to New York.
Oh,
So
well,
I
it's a
don't
definite event.
so I don't even but I don't even
Oh, but you
know
don't even know what it is.
I don't even
It
know that
doesn't even
it's
impress you.
I
You're
think we're
going
going
to
to
a circus.
I think we're going to the freaking circus. And I'm
with
like,
monkeys, and they're like, the top
bad
hat.
clowns, bad clowns. And I am like,
Whoa.
what? I am literally gobsmacked and just in shock in the first beginnings. So then we get on the ferry, we go across, we get into Cirque. It's obviously
It's
not
a lovely event.
It's a lovely event. It's like,
There's
and it's
no
their first year.
monkeys.
It's like totally over the top. If there was a monkey, it was
There's
like,
no peanuts on the floor.
no, right? It's not bad. But I am still quietly, there are just little tears streaming down my face at some point. And it doesn't hit me right away, but like we're sitting there
Yes.
and it's beautiful and it's quiet and it's dark and it's beautiful. And I'm just quietly crying. And Jay's like, what's wrong? What, you don't like the acrobats? And I'm like, it's okay. Everything's good. I'm okay. Like trying to get it together. Okay. So this is my expectations, right?
Yes.
We set a goal, we set an agreement together.
Yeah.
We set a plan together and we never discussed it again. And when he had this Saturday night plan to do some nice little surprise, it happened to align in my brain with an agreement that we had from 2 years ago. Right?
And that's like in dog years for a man. Like he doesn't know 2 years from 20.
Yes!
He's just like, whatever, we're still having fun. Why do I have to think about that?
We're having a great time, and he's, this is early in his career, right? He's on Wall Street. He's working literally 20 hours a day, like literally
grinding
sleeping
it,
under the desk kind of a times of our
Yeah.
lives. So he doesn't know what is going on. So the joke is that you can make all the plans and you can make all the agreements, but if it has to be reminded and reconfirmed, right? So this is my expectation.
Documented.
and then the Cirque du Soleil. So I'm going to circle up and wrap up this story. So we get back. Jay's like, what exactly went down with you crying at the circus? And I was like, this was about 2 years from when you asked me to move in, blah, blah, blah. We agreed that we'd be getting engaged right around this time. And he was like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, I need to call my sister and tell her that I went to the circus and I did not get a ring. And you, my love, have a 6-month extension. But let me tell you,
you have a
if
great
you don't do that, it is shit or get off the pot time. Because this girl, 2 years later, was confident enough to go and live in New York City on her own and do it. So I said, you have 6 months. And because it's so funny, my high school boyfriend's uncle, I don't know. I had this family friend from when I was growing up that they had dated for like 10 years.
Yes.
And she was waiting for the ring.
Incessant dating.
Waiting for the ring. And she was waiting for the ring. And every holiday you'd see her and she'd just be like, that poor unfortunate soul, like those little like sad things in the clam in the movie. And I just was like, I'm not going to
be that.
Again, we're living together. I've given the milk to the, I didn't do the thing where I hold back.
The cow and the milk.
Got the milk and the cow. I don't have a lot of leverage here, but I told him, you're shitting or getting off the pot because this chick will sail. I'm not doing 10 years hoping for a ring. So we were 5 years before we got engaged. And yes.
It's funny because Vin and I had a similar story.
Oh, that's funny.
So, this is like literally the epitome of what we do with our clients, right? We have this one rando conversation that we remember where we were standing, every detail, verbatim what we said. And the client's like, you didn't say that. I don't remember that. Is it 2 weeks from now or was it 2 weeks ago? Like this is how we get into problems, right? Because we remember something clearly, but we haven't taken the time to document it. And like you said, revisit the agreement, restate the agreement, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
right?
And this is literally how I used to operate. And again, I'm the girl who ended up crying at the circus. But you don't see the lessons until hindsight, right? You don't really see the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, crying at the circus. Anyway, but this is how I operated for years. I had a great design agreement and I walked my clients through that. And then that was it. It was over, right? One conversation, one time, and then shoop, I expected them to have memorized it,
Yes.
internalized it, and then obeyed it to the letter.
Yeah.
Without any further communication, conversation, reconfirming.
Reconfirming. Yeah.
Reconfirm. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's the word.
No, it's so true. Like, look, I can't imagine any one of us that hasn't done this exact same thing at some point and is standing here thinking, and I actually have done it with a client before, had this expectation that because it was said once that it's your business. It's important to you, but they're just coming into your business for weeks or months or a couple of years, right? It's not their job to make sure that it's all buttoned up, right?
Absolutely. And also, we are presenting our design agreement, and at different points in my evolution, sometimes I read it to them. Holy potential client buzzkill. Sometimes, sometimes it was bullet pointed. Now I do a beautiful potential client presentation that's like visual, and I'm talking it through. It's got bullet points. It's got beautiful portfolio images in it. It's much more interactive because some people learn by listening, some people learn visually, some people learn by having a conversation. So I try to really come at it from all the directions. That is better. But what I understand from having done this for so many years is that the clients are taking in you. They're taking in the vibe. They're taking in the environment. They're taking in your tone, how you speak, what else is going on, the vibe of the studio, the interaction of you and the other employees, right?
Yeah.
Our brains are taking in so much more. When you're presenting the design agreement, you already know what your office feels like, what the vibe and the tone is. They're taking in all of that while trying to pretend like they're listening to you talk about the design agreement. So it's really, really crazy, cuckoo nuts to think that they got it all and that they totally understood all of it, and that they're going to work within those boundaries and expectations beautifully and perfectly.
Yeah.
So later I hear so much
without continuous reminding is
correct.
Right,
correct. Right. And then I hear so many designers talking about the frustration and the ick of they're sending me pictures from their shopping, they're on vacation and they're shopping on vacation. They're sending me pictures, the ick. Or the texting me at Saturday at 7 a.m. and the ick, right? That feeling of tension. And did you not see in the agreement that all purchasing and execution goes through my firm? Did you not see in the agreement that business hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, right? But in a vacuum, sure, that's all been clearly communicated. But if it's not reminded and reconfirmed, what is that? So an expectation without holding to it is useless.
Well, and that's how people get into trouble too, because they feel like as a business owner, they've described the expectation. They've said, for example, no texting on the weekends or whatever it is. But they'll answer sometimes because it suits their purposes. Oh, I'll get that off my plate because she just answered. Or they'll answer sometimes because they're like, fine, I'll just do it this one time. But it's kind of like, how does the client know that you have a limit of 3 that you weren't supposed to do, and now you're going to lose your crap on them? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I agree with you that if you cannot clarify for yourself, like in that story with you and Jay, you were clear. You were clear it was 2 years, but you understood at that aha moment with the circus and the monkeys that, hey, actually, we never reconfirmed that this was still an agreement on the table. But in that moment, you're like, okay, new agreement, pal, new agreement. And the thing is, at that moment, Jay could have said, actually, no, I did make a promise to you, pinky swear promise to you, but
Mhm.
actually no. And that would have sucked because we wouldn't have Tessa and we wouldn't have Parker and you wouldn't have had the life you had, right? But
Yep.
it would have been okay at that point because you were now reframing and revising. You were revising. You weren't like just going back off wishing for it to happen. It's like that's what happens, right? When somebody answers a text and then wishes the next time that they don't text again on the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. And, so for me too, boundaries, okay, creating expectations and then holding to them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Holding to them. And that's one of the things we talk about is um, when that text comes in at Saturday morning at 7 a.m., do you, if it's an emergency,
Right.
emergency, right? And so let's define design emergencies.
Yeah, let's do that.
Will you tell me if you can think of one?
I mean, my thing is, I just walked into my house that's in construction and the water heater broke and I've got 3 inches of water in over my hardwood floors. Okay. I might call my
Yes.
designer for that one. Yeah, I might.
Total emergency.
Right?
Yes,
But, like,
exactly.
I walked in and the paint, the Revere pewter doesn't look gray enough. Nope, not an emergency. I'll
Not an
talk to you on
emergency.
Monday about that, sweetie,
Exactly.
because it's already
Exactly.
painted and I'm not repainting it on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
right? Right?
100%. So I had one, it was my one experience in 23 years of being in this industry. I had drafted and created a custom metal door handle slider. Like it was a leaf and I don't know, whatever. I had a metal worker make it and it wouldn't lock. And it was a
Ah,
single woman who owned this
oh,
beautiful condo, right?
yeah.
And so we have a real design emergency. I had to get the metal worker over there immediately that she needed to be able to lock her door at the end of the
Yes,
night.
yes.
So one in 23 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
check your phone, but
yeah.
move every conversation. And so my gentle thing is, so that you don't ghost them is received. We're going to move this. I'm going to move this conversation to email at 8 a.m. on Monday morning.
Yeah, that's a great line. I love that line.
I'm going to continue this conversation Monday, 8 a.m. or
Yeah,
9 a.m.
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
heck the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
like and while you were retraining yourself and your team to function within expectations and holding boundaries, did you have times when you did the first time and because I find two things happen. I find that when you honor your own boundary, you honor the expectation by holding the boundary to your words. 99% of the time, the person just goes, yeah, no, it was Saturday. I just was telling you, so I didn't forget. Right? Like, I mean, and maybe there's 1 or 10% where the person will go, yeah, but the Revere pewter is an emergency. So have you had those 5-10% of times where somebody did push you back and what did you do? Did you just say, no, I'll talk to you on Monday at 9? Like, because that's the weeds, Sandra.
Yeah.
I know that you counsel, mentor, train, teach, coach interior designers in the interior design standard. And I know that's why they come back and say to you, but yeah, my client said this. And I don't think they do it as often as the designers want to tell us they do it. Don't
Yes.
mind me yelling about that, but they do sometimes. So we do need that verbiage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they come back at you more if you've let the line be fuzzy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
For sure. Or you're holding new standards for yourself, right? You're
Right.
saying, hey, and so often when we've created bad habits, they're much, much harder to clean up
Right.
than when they start out of the gate really clean. That first time that somebody texts you on Saturday morning and they end up with your phone number because they happen to know you through other ways, or you
Yeah.
met them at a stone yard one time, like whatever. I don't even try to give it out if I can help it, but they have it. And the first time you say it, it's just reminding, right? Just a
Yeah.
reminder, blah 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 blah. Monday morning, we'll address this Monday morning. But if it is somebody who has been texting you and that line hadn't been established, and you're trying to bring that back, you're going to get some pushback on that. You're going to get
Yeah.
the yeah buts for sure. And it is holding that line and saying, and I don't have a problem saying like I have a life, I have a family, they deserve my full attention.
Mhm.
I'll be talking to you on like I would just honestly say the exact same thing again.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, if you have been part of the problem, like maybe last weekend you did answer 2 texts and the weekend before it was 1, then the only way to do that is like a sit down. It's a powwow,
Yes. Oh, a
right?
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
you
you're
gotta like
changing behavior,
regroup, reframe, and we gotta
yes.
get agreement and start all over again. We can't just sit there, go back and forth in a text and say, now I magically am gonna hold my boundary line.
Correct. Yes. And right, if you're changing from like I used to text with you all day Saturday, but now I'm not anymore, that is for sure a sit down because you have to have agreement to the expectation first, right?
Right, right,
Like I couldn't say to Jay, I want to be engaged in 2 years and he's like, whatever. And then cry at the circus. That would
right,
never that's not
right,
fair either. But
right,
you have to
right,
have agreement first,
right,
for sure.
right.
And you can't have had it buried in a design agreement and then think you're going to pull it out of the sky and start enacting on that.
That is the other thing, like literally when it's like, well, it's in my contract. I'm like, I feel like design, and I agree that design contracts should be thorough and, as beefy as they need to be for full protections. But it's sort of like, I mean, it's like buying a house.
Yeah.
You know how many contracts you sign at that closing? I don't read a damn word. Nobody who reads any of it. No one reads any of it. Vinny reads
No.
the dollar bill line, right? You read the dollar bill line. You and Jay read the dollar bill line,
Yep.
right? He's like, okay, we said we're selling for this much. This is what it says. But there's 30 pages that you sign. And we are all adults and we all do that knowingly. And
Totally.
so to think that a client views their design contract a whole lot different from that, I think that's a very bad expectation on a designer's part because we all, as rational, responsible adults, sign our name on things that as soon as it gets too crazy over the top pages, like it's so many pages, you can't even comprehend it.
Yep.
It's like to your point, I love the way you said that, Sandra, because to that point, like I'm not a person who goes into agreements on easily as far as without due diligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I am going to tell you, I've signed 1 million real estate contracts in my life without reading a damn word of them, right? And when you said when your client's in that environment, they're evaluating all the other things, that's so true because that's exactly what we are unconsciously doing. Do I trust this person? Do I have faith in this person? Look at the way this person is interacting with their team. Are they a respectful person? You're taking all that in. I've never thought about that before until you said it. But if you are doing all the things and box after box, even though they're subconsciously hitting boxes in my mind, I'm not actually saying I'm going to see if she's a nice person, right? When you put 10 pages in front of me, yeah, I'm going to sign them. I'm going to sign them. Right? I am, because I'm not expecting wiggy crap to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Wiggy crap is my new phrase. I'm taking it. Right? You're going to hear that in my world.
And I'm not saying I wouldn't skim it. I really not. I mean, I'm not really saying I'm going to do something to my house. I'm going to spend $50,000 or $100,000 or $500,000. I'm not saying I'm not going to read it. But I think your point is, and what I've always said to designers is, when you know the 3 places in a contract that are always the places you get pushback on, then read them to me. Yeah. Read them to me. Like, sweetie, don't go by this. And say to me, in my experience, these are the 3 areas that I feel like are the push points that create the miscommunication, that creates the static in the process as we go along. Can I just take a moment to flesh through these 3 things with you, right? Like know where the projects go screwy.
Oh, 100%. And so again, I've gone through all these iterations of sliding the contract across the table and saying, in case you can't sleep tonight, you might want to read through this. Cheeky, but not helpful, right? To reading it line by line. Again, the buzzkill, the energy leaves the room. I mean, you are so good at sales. Can you imagine that being able to actually close anyone after putting them straight to sleep by reading them their contract?
I can't buy this anymore. I'm out of here.
I know me. I am that person who, if I can see somebody's going into like a half an hour blah blah blah, I'll be like, excuse me, I'm so sorry, can you email me this? I can't stay present right now. Like, no. I would say, excuse me, I'm gonna need to bow out of you reading that to me. That's cuckoo crazy, right?
Right.
Somehow a couple of people let me do it, which was crazy. And then on the flip side now, it's a presentation where I literally have those phrases, and I've said them and done them so many times. All
Yes.
purchasing and execution must go through my firm. One round of revisions within 1 week via one method of communication. Like, they are so ingrained because I've
Yes.
said them so many times.
Yes.
These are the phrases that are that need to be said and then need to be agreed upon. And a little conversation, and again, a little storytelling. It's
Yes,
not
you
just
gotta
saying.
cement it with, something that makes it
Memorable.
memorable, right. They have to be able to memory peg it back to, "Oh, yeah, she did say that." You know what
Yes.
I mean? And that's why I love the "in my experience,"
Yes.
because, you tell the story of how whatever bullet point in your contract paragraph you're enunciating, and, you can just say, "And I gotta tell you, the way this shows up in real life on a project, this is the kind of thing that goes wrong when we don't stick to this." And
Yeah.
then you give the story, and it's like, you've heard me on the show say 1,000 times about the Las Vegas dark and, all the things. And Billy knows my lines. He knows my lines. And that's why I love that you say it the same way. It's in the presentation, because when you say it the same way over and over again, you bring up the way you say it when it comes up. Most people, if you catch the exact same phrase, whether they admit it or not, you will usually see on their face, "Oh, yeah, I do remember a little bit of
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that."
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the good ones will say, "Okay, I do agree. I do remember hearing that." But it's that consistency, and it's pegging the memorable thing to it so that they can't wiggle out of it.
100%.
I
100%.
love that you kinda do it graphically too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Visual,
yeah,
conversation, eyeballs to eyeballs.
yeah. No,
This
yeah,
is, and yeah, and for me, always in person, and that might be mean via Zoom these days, which
yes.
is, I think, reasonable. All decision makers, eyeballs to eyeballs.
I agree with that. I just had that in a chairman of the board coaching session in the last month or so. And, it was a little, not drama. Drama's not the right word. Like, if drama's 5, it was a 2. It was a little, whatever, about the agreement and what was in the agreement or whatever. And then the line came out. Well, when I emailed it to her and then she blah, blah, I was like, "Whoa, wait, I didn't know we were emailing agreements." I'm like, "No, no,
Right.
no, 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 no." It's like, I'm like, "You can get another, consultant that is advising you on your business to sign off on that, but not me." Like,
Yes.
no.
And we're talking about for, 5, 6, 7-figure
Yeah, yeah,
deals.
yeah, yeah.
This is not $9.99.
No, no. And the thing is that and that's the exact point of it. You know the push points and you know where the pain points are, and if your client does not know them. And
Correct.
so if there's 20 paragraphs in a contract and 4 need to be hammered home, if your push point is communication or your push point is, decision makers,
Purchasing.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
purchasing, you have to make that a conversation, not a paragraph. It
Not a
has to
bullet
be
point.
some, yeah.
Not a
Mhm.
bullet point. It's a conversation. And for me, we make it a conversation with a slide and a story.
Yep.
And, again, it's not just, hey, listen, here's here. For me, communication looks like this, set meetings, Zooms in person, uh, email communication, Monday through Friday, this time to this time. Phone communication, this is a number. My cell phone is for emergency only, if you even have it.
Right.
Very clear, right? And then I tell the story. I
Right.
had this client, she was incredible. She rolled over every single day at 7 a.m. and texted me.
Right.
These are
Right.
the thoughts that are in my head
Right.
about my house that is under construction.
Yep.
And that is in that moment that I learned that I needed to set boundaries or I would leave this career.
Right.
So I'm telling you now, please don't roll over every morning at 7 a.m. and text me. I love this woman. She was a
Yes.
wonderful person, but she is the one who taught me that there needed to be a boundary
Yeah.
around communication,
And
timing, style, quantity.
and the nail in the coffin on that conversation is, I'm not capturing this in a way that I can take good action on it. You
For
know,
sure.
brain droppings at 7 a.m. every day is not something that I can actually track. Like my whole team can be involved, and we can move it to a place where it gets done. It's just lost there. You know what I'm
Totally.
saying?
Well, and it's inefficient. I'm then
Yes.
copying this into an Asana to make sure that the project management manager knows what's going on, because going straight to the CEO is not helping the
No.
project evolve. The
No.
designer needs to know, the project manager needs to know, not just me. But
Right.
in this instance, this is what was transpiring.
Yeah.
So, but it's always with the story.
Yeah.
I do an entire slide on the emotional timeline of a client project,
Mm.
and how excited they are when they first meet you. So excited, in fact, that they're probably not paying that close of attention to the details, right? We just talked about that. And then they go up and they go down and they go up and they go down and then they go up, and then you take all their money, trash their house, and make them wait, right? This is the big timeline. And I
Right.
always say to my clients, don't be asking them for money. Don't, and you need to tell. And I go through this, and then I say, and then we're going to install, and we're going to rise from the ashes together. And then there's going to be a punch list.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell them that there's going to
There's
be
a
a punch list,
right? They're thinking this fantastic finale, like
yes, if they don't
perfection.
know that they're rising from the ashes, punch list, and then
Then back
final,
up. Yeah.
right? So I had this one client who you did a lot of work for. We may have spent a lot of time in his shower one time, if you just as an inside joke to know which client this is. This client came to me and said, I think we're cursed. And I said, what? And he said, there's just everything has a nick, a scratch, a ding, the paint, the thing needs to thing, this needs an edit, that needs an edit. I think this project is cursed. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
I have not set expectations.
that's right.
I have never had a project that didn't have a punch list.
Right.
Never, ever, right?
Right.
Oh, I need to go build that in. And that's where that emotional timeline really came from, is like
Mhm.
needing to set the expectation that every single project gets a punch list. Every single project gets, invoices and delivery days and the highs and the lows. And I joke, and it's, for me, it's making it memorable by making it funny, right? And I
Yes.
joke, I say, so far, I have never left anyone with take all your money, trash your house, and then just leave. So far, I've brought everyone out of it. Like everyone has survived,
I have a
everyone
100% survival rate of all of my
survival rate.
clients and design
Yes.
projects.
I've never left anyone with a gutted house and
What
taken all
Harvard
their money.
medical doctor can say that? 100% survival rate.
100% survival. Everyone has made it through this timeline in some way, shape, or form. So, we make a little joke, we tell a little story, we give it a little drama, and it makes it memorable. And
Yeah.
then when they are in the shit and they are sad and their house is trashed and they can't use their kitchen and they've been eating takeout for too many nights in a row and there's dust literally everywhere, you can be like, oh, you're in the part where I took all your money, trashed your house, and make you wait. And they giggle. They do. Because they remember thinking,
Yes.
oh, that won't happen to me.
Yes. Oh, it won't be that bad. She's exaggerating.
And then they're like,
prepares.
we're not exaggerating. This
No.
is terrible,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, and I love that because I think, for as many interviews as I've done, and we've talked about that middle part being hard. I don't know that anybody has ever actually, and I'm sure many, many successful designers that have been on the show have that expectation that they set, but I don't know that we've ever said it on the show, Sandra, in 8 years. Like, and there's a punch list. Like we say it when we get to the end, but what your whole message here is say it in the beginning.
That's the
right?
whole thing.
That's
Say it
it.
at the beginning.
When there
because
is no drama and there is no
Yes.
punch list, there is no pain,
Yes, and say all of it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Say the thing about all purchasing and execution must go through my firm. Say you're going to have a punch list. Say I'm going to take all your money, trash your house. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
Say all of it, all the lessons that you've learned, all the little poo-poo piles that you stepped in. Say all of it at the beginning, and then you're just remember when we talked about. And remember when we talked about? And then the other big point about this, the point about my story with my husband was there was never any reminders or reconfirms.
Right.
So I have now built that in, right?
Yes.
So the emails that I send an email every single week to every single client. come hell or high water. So now in those emails, as we're coming up on the different mile markers in the project, I am reminding and reconfirming.
Yeah.
As a reminder, all decision makers must be present at all meetings. If that is no longer possible, let me know, we will reschedule.
Right.
As a reminder, payment is due prior to this first meeting. If that's not possible, let me know, we will reschedule. As a reminder,
Yeah.
and like just reconfirm, remind.
Yeah.
It's just very simple, but it's so incredibly effective.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And the thing about it is when it's done at the beginning, it's easy peasy.
Yeah, no friction.
No, there's no
No one's defensive.
No, right.
There's no awkward conversation of like, thank you for your phone call, but this is actually Saturday because you've already said it.
Yep. And they're not at the point expecting they're going to be that client. Like they're not thinking they're going to be that client. They're like, you're going to love us. You know what I mean? And so they're not expecting to go out of the boundaries. And so but the thing is, if they don't really know what the boundaries are, how can they stay in them? Right?
So much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear this so often that I hear a lot of designers talking about the bad clients. I keep getting the bad clients, the difficult clients, this and that, and this and that. And I used to be a designer who had the tough clients, right? But what I know for sure is there's just some bad apples out there. That is true. That we really do a very intense screening because of that. We want to be so red flag aware so that we can try to avoid working with the bad apples. But mostly it's setting expectations, creating boundaries, and sticking to them.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you hear me. I complain about the Facebook groups all the time. I love the purpose of the Facebook groups. Yes. And it's like 80-20 rule. I love 80% of what happens in the Facebook groups. I love the camaraderie. I encourage people to join all the open Facebook groups that are run by, well-known designers and business consultants that are smart. I really do. But, the number of times that someone will come in and say something that their client has done, and literally, 20 people are like, fire them, red client, red flag, run away. And I'm just like, maybe just ask this one question. like maybe just ask this one question. Did they know XYZ? Right? Because, and I know this to be true because you guys know I'm not going to go into another consultant's Facebook group and give advice. I'm not going to. Claire is knowledgeable. Veronica is knowledgeable. Cheryl is knowledgeable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go in and be like, do this, right? But I hear it in my own coaching clients. And I hear I didn't think to ask that. And then when they go do it and they come back and they're like, yeah, they said they just didn't realize or they didn't understand. I'm like, I know. We didn't need to fire them. We needed to reframe the conversation.
Yes. Yes. Oh, 100%. And what I'm seeing we have a standard members only Facebook group.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not in yours because
it's members only. But it's funny because you can see the newbies that are just brand new because they're excited to be, they jump right into the conversation, which is awesome. But often they're bringing that kind of conversation to the group, right? And really quickly, some of the OG in my group, there's some incredible standard members that have been with me since 2020, and they'll be like, oh, maybe you haven't gotten to the potential client presentation yet, because once you do that, then they'll know that it's inappropriate to do this. Or, have you had that conversation with them? Or did you send the reminder emails? Because in the template, there's that's all in the template. Are you using the email templates? And there's no one saying, fire them, they are terrible. Yes. It's really quick, and I don't have to say a word, but it's really quick to be like, oh, you must not have gotten through the module 2 yet. Like, you need to dig in on that, and then that'll smooth out, and that'll smooth out. But that is one of the great outcomes that we're getting, is this, we talk about joy, right? It's that lack of friction. That's where the joy can come back in. When you're not just constantly feeling this defensiveness or friction or having to herd the cats of getting all the clients to behave. So they don't know. Honestly, most interior design clients haven't done this over and over and over again. And if they have, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
What's wrong with their other designer?
Right.
Why aren't they still with that designer that they've worked with before? So most of the time they're new at this and
Yeah.
they don't know what they don't know what you want from them unless you
Right.
tell them.
Well, and it's so true because we expect it in other areas of our life, right? Like, I don't care if it's just signing your kid up for a new school. There's the kid orientation, the parent orientation. Like, the school walks you through, even at the little level of just two, 1 hour orientations. Like, this is where the bus drops off. This is where you pick. Like they give you the outline of what to expect on the simplest little things in our life,
Yep.
right? But then we think that somebody that is doing for the first or maybe second time a multiple, 5-figure, or even 6-figure project, that they're supposed to see the timeline the way you see it. Like, no,
Right.
right? Like,
Absolutely. No,
no,
same thing. Right. That's exactly right. And to that end, how could they possibly know the rules of engagement,
right.
how it works? And also, designers, we're the Wild West when it comes to how our businesses work.
Yeah, yeah. So even if you have worked successfully in different parts of the world with two other designers, it's not like, standard operating procedure.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't all do it the same.
No.
So you have to explain your business. And my whole thing too is if it takes you more than 2 minutes to explain your pricing model, it's too complicated and
Right.
it'll go right over their head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it just has to be simple, clear, concise. It's just make it so clear.
Yeah.
And then reiterate. Like, don't just think you're going to have that conversation one time and it's going to stick. It's
Right.
going to have to be reminded.
Well, I mean, who in your life do you tell them one time? Like, do you you ask your husband to go to the grocery store and pick up something on the way. Like, you ask him, you text Vinny. Like, if he's going to Manhattan Bagel to get a sandwich for me, I literally take a screenshot from the menu and text it to him, because I will tell him the exact name of what I want and he will come back with something different. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
dude, like, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? Oh, well, that's what you asked for. Oh, okay. Because I mean, I don't eat bacon. I don't eat this, but that's what I asked for. You're probably right.
Right. I remember Jay, I used to always be like, are you sure you asked him to scramble these? Are you sure? He's like, woman, please.
Right. But I mean, it's the same. It's like expecting like any age child. You tell them one time and they're going to remember it. No. And this is much more complicated. People have busy lives. They're also running businesses, managing, family members and everything. And I do believe that most people come to a project with a designer wanting it to be a good experience. I don't believe that
Absolutely.
they come to it looking for trouble in River City. You know what I mean?
No, that's so funny, but for years it kind of felt like, oh, they're just going to get in there and they're just going to mess with my life, right? They're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
meddle with stuff. And that's not, they have too much going on. They're just bumbling around in confusion.
Right.
Because they don't know what to do next. They don't know what's happening. I think that's a really important one when it comes to expectations as well, is for years and years and years, I worked, Jay's Wall Street, and we're in that market, right? His network is very Wall Street. And so my clients were type A go-getter, hardcore negotiators, tough, right?
Yeah.
And I am very blessed to have been in that world and then that network to get those big jobs and big budgets and all the things, but also it came with that type A hardcore negotiator. And Jay was like, what do you expect? You want these great big beautiful project with these like laid back people that aren't hard hitters? Like, that's just not how it's going to be. Like, you got to be right there, as clear, as firm, as you need to, I started reading tons and tons of books on negotiating because I was like, this is part of the job. I got to know what to do. Like, that's just part of the gig, was being able to stand up for yourself. And that, that comes from the stand in your space, right? Is like, you have to, because you will get steamrolled. And I used to think, oh, these clients come into my business and want to tell me how to run my business, but it comes from me not standing as the expert.
That's the thing. You know what? Here's the thing. If you have a path, I don't care how strong-willed I am. If I'm paying you and you have a path, I will follow the path.
Yes.
But here's the thing, sweetie. We are going to tear my house apart and I'm going to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars and you don't have a path. I'll make a path. Like, I'll make the path. And that's where the
100%.
thing goes haywire because
100%.
you don't even have to be with a type A driver personality. If neither person is running the ship, somebody, and especially the person with the pain point of the house all as a, crap show, is going to start to run the ship, right? Because they
100%.
want to get the project back on schedule,
Yes. And that's it. If you don't have clear timelines, clear budgets in place, clear communication, consistency, and they've got their home, it's very personal, and then it's their money, their home and their money. You can't get more personal unless you were in their bed. Like
Right,
only the sex therapist
exactly.
is more personal than this. You're in their home and you are in their pocketbook. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're pretty close to ground zero as far as personal is concerned. And if they start to feel any uncertainty, they go right to fear.
Yeah.
Right? That is fear. And how do we react when we are in fear? We try to control. We try to manage. We try to
mitigate this.
We try to mitigate the fear, right? So the minute that there's uncertainty or wiggliness, right? We go into control. Like, okay, then I'm going to tell you I'm going to make, like, how many times
I'm going to call the plumber and ask him to show up.
I'm going to call the plumber. I'm going to follow up with the showroom. I'm going to set a deadline if there is no timeline, right? Yeah. How many times early in my career were we chugging along in a happy little project and all of a sudden the client says, by the way, there's a party and it's got to be done by then.
Yeah.
Never happened later in my career when I was setting timelines from the beginning and I was communicating clearly. It was the client's way of putting an end to the uncertainty. Yes. So they created a deadline that didn't exist previously because I hadn't given them clear enough timelines.
Right.
Same thing with someone pulling the plug on a project. If I didn't give them a clear budget and clear understanding of how, when, how, that's how those 3 projects fell apart one after another after another.
Yep.
It was our projects we were running them hourly, and we had bumped to that next bigger project level, and we were still running our projects hourly. And so it was do a bunch of work, send an invoice, do a bunch of work, send an invoice, right? And the beginning of a project is so front loaded because your whole team's on site measuring. One group is doing the CAD as is. The other group is doing the mood boards and is starting to source and pull like directions for aesthetic. The other group is working on budgets. Like it's all hands on deck in the beginning of a project. Yeah. And holy crap, do you start blowing through budget quick. Yes. And I scared those early projects away because I was sending these humongous invoices and we had a budget number. We had an estimate, right?
You were going to be in it, but they didn't know that
they couldn't see the forest.
Because you hadn't told them this is going to be heavy front loaded, middle's not going to be so bad, and they were off the rail.
Trickle at the end, and they were flipped out. And they were like, this project is supposed to take this long, and this is how much these invoices are coming in at, ripcord. Yeah. Right? And not much there's no room for conversation after.
No, once they draw the line. Yeah, it's too late.
And when they lose confidence,
yes,
the trust is broke. The fear comes in, the trust is broke. It's pretty impossible. So it's communication, boundaries, expectations right from the beginning.
And the thing is, you do all of this in the standard. Like they not only get, and of course we're going to link in the show notes previous episodes when you really run through the deliverables of the interior design standard, but it is literally everything. It's the emails, it's the worksheets, it's the workflow, it's the conversations, it's the mentoring in the, the live mentoring and the Facebook mentoring, all these things, right?
Yes. And it's that exact presentation that I go through that you can just swap in your pictures and make your language sound more like you, but the whole thing is downloadable.
Your branding, your colors.
Yep. It's everything. The whole design agreement that has all those boundaries and expectations. So every time I stepped in poo and fixed it, it's in there.
And you launch twice a year. We're coming up on a launch. What's our launch dates now?
We launch twice a year and we just finished one. So I'm going to just tell everyone right now, the place to go is interiordesignstandard.com/Luann, and that the space is limited. So just go ahead and reserve your spot. You can do a deposit now and hold your seat in our next launch. We are launching generally spring and fall every year.
So what's interesting is we need to understand that space is limited because this is not buy a download and go off on your own and do this. You start every cohort on
Yes.
the same day, and there's live interaction with you, instruction, and walking it through, and
Yep.
all the stuff. So that's why space is limited, and that's why there's set launch dates, because it's not a do it yourself type situation.
Correct, correct. You have, there are modules that are pre-recorded, and there's downloads that sit there for you. And once you're a standard member, you're always a standard member. It's lifetime access. But we do go through as a group, and we have community calls live with me, and we help you find your affiliate groups so that you are going through the lessons together, and we go through, and we have a great community on Facebook where we're really working through everything together.
Well, and what I love is that, and what I know from my experience with conversations with many designers who've been through the standard, is there's such benefit to starting together, to being in the group, to go through it together, to have the live, back and forth and explanation. But then, to your point, you can go back and do whatever you want over again. Or maybe there's a particular part of your business you're not ready to tear it down and build it back up again, right? It's like there's so much value in the standard that even if you took advantage of 50% of it in the first 6 months you're in the thing, or in forever, it's the value is there. Like, in other words, you can find the solution for the part in your process that's broken. And you know where that part is. It's the part that you keep getting pushback on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find the solution in the interior design standard in that part, and that's all you use it for, like, so what? Like, you got joy back in your life, you closed jobs easier, you had better, you know what I mean? And I do know that people will say to me, I implemented X, and I had joined a year ago, and I'm now back in, pulling down the downloads, going through the thing, because I'm ready to do another part of it.
Yep.
Like, there shouldn't be the onus on somebody that I've got to put aside 20 hours a week if I join the standard. Like, do it but I love the getting you and the instruction, and because that's when you can say, well, but how and but why, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And you need that when you're really trying to basically you're teaching designers how to reframe, and actually how to, get real with themselves. What are your expectations, and how do we put the boundaries around it? They don't have to have your same expectations or your
Correct.
same boundaries, right?
Correct. Yeah, no,
They're
definitely not.
exploring it. Yeah, they're
Definitely not.
exploring. Yeah.
Exploring their own. Yeah, that's the other thing. Everything is editable. Everything is, bring it into your business, make it your own. And then we just held those touch points of saying, and then here's where we remind about this part, and here's where we remind about this part, and here's where you tell the stories about some of the experiences you've had, and we just walk you through that.
Yeah.
I love what you were saying too about, going in and taking what you need and not feeling like you have to do every single thing. It's not an all or nothing kind of program.
Right. No.
And we have designers I love who go through it, and they say that they take a layer, and then they go and they make, they use it and they work it and they experience it, and then they come back and they take another layer
1000%.
and they go through it like that. Yeah.
It's like walking into a huge, massive gym and thinking you're going to use every piece of equipment the first day or the third day or the 50th day.
Right.
Right. There's some equipment you're never going to use. Like, I'm never going to do that. And there's other equipment that, like, I'm not ready for that yet. Let me do 3 or 4 months. You know what I mean? But the answers are there. And that's what's great. Like, you have really thought it through from beginning to end.
Yes. Well, because I lived it, I lived it a lot. As you know, I lived
firsthand, driveways and backups.
Yeah,
talking
totally,
about it.
Totally. No, and somebody said to me, we get a lot of comments about our design agreement because it's so thorough. And somebody said to me, "Wow, you must have had a lot of really tough clients because this thing has dealt with every little angle." And I said, yeah, I have my coach, my mindset coach that I meet with every single week. And at one point I was like, why are we always having the friction and the trouble, right? Because I was in it. I was living the friction and the trouble. Why? And now I look back and I say, I had to have all of those experiences so that the standard could exist.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
so true.
without this, without that, without having bumped that next level and realized that my pricing model was not geared towards where I wanted to be, it was geared to where I had been, like, I wouldn't have forced myself to grow and to figure it out and to like get into the client's mindset. And that was the big shift, right? Is putting myself in the client's shoes and figuring out they're only being controlling because they have no idea what you're doing.
Exactly.
You went missing.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. You just think they're reading your mind over here.
Yeah.
No big deal. You know, you got all their money and their house is a mess. Yeah, they're just supposed to be chill.
Exactly. And I literally was talking about, like, we send our Friday updates every single week, right? And somebody raised their hand and is like, well, okay, during that procurement phase when the contractors are working at the house and the furniture's already ordered and there's really nothing else going on, we're just waiting on furniture and waiting on the house to be done, you still send an email every week? And I said, that is the most important time.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
The most important time.
Yeah. But that's the most important. That if you are not going to send emails at any time, if you're going to like, I'm only sending 12 emails, well, send them during the 12 weeks when you don't need to communicate with them.
100%. And I was getting pushback and they were like, well, but do you just send the same thing every time? And I say, no, I change the intro, I change the outro, I make a comment about the holiday weekend and, tell them, I'm like, listen, if you got to talk about the weather, talk about the weather, but send the damn email. Just send it.
Yeah. We're still over here. Things are quiet on our end, but
yes, we took all your money and trashed your house, but I promise there's stuff on order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love it. All right. So you want them to go to interiordesignstandard.com/Luann and they can get on the waiting list for the fall 2024 opening. And of course, if they're listening to this in the future, there's probably some opening coming up. So just go get on the waiting list.
Yes. Go get the information. It's all there. Really will walk you through all the details. And fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I love these conversations. These could be 9-hour podcasts as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
Oh, thanks, honey. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.